If you're aiming to build tons of muscle naturally, then you're in the right place. In this video, I'm going to share with you everything you probably need to do in order to accomplish that, based on my own personal experience, as well as the experience that I have helping my clients do just that over the years. If this is our first time meeting, my name is Sam Kaplan. I'm a natural bodybuilder and a physique coach, and I've been pretty fixated on building as much muscle as is possible naturally since I was around 15 years old. Now into my 30s, I've learned a lot about how to build muscle effectively over the years. Of course, not without making a ton of mistakes along the way. In this video, I'm going to share with you what has undeniably worked well for me, and what I would go as far as saying is what's probably needed to build tons of muscle naturally.
What's your secret?
First, I take my hand and I do this.
My hope is that in sharing it all with you, it will be helpful for you on your journey to making some serious natural gains. Just before we get started, it would mean a lot if you like this video. Each like does a ton to support the growth of this channel. Thank you in advance. Okay, let's get started. Let's start by summarizing what's actually needed for muscle growth to happen. First, your muscles need to be exposed to mechanical tension. Mechanical tension is the primary driver for muscle growth. Second, you need to eat food. Food is essentially the energy and the building blocks for new muscle. Okay, pretty simple, right? That being so, to build as much muscle as possible, you'll probably need to organize your lifestyle around doing that in a way that is efficient and effective. The first thing you probably need to do that is to have some kind of a routine. Since exposing your muscles to higher and higher amounts of mechanical tension is what will drive for muscle growth, implementing some kind of means of accomplishing just that and incorporating it into your routine is going to be essential. Strength training, also known as resistance training, is the most effective activity to meet that end. And since food is essentially the energy and building blocks for creating new muscle, having some kind of eating structure or meal plan that's conducive of muscle growth is probably a good idea to include in your routine as well. And on another note, going to bed and waking up at around the same time every day is probably a good idea too.
7 a.m. waking up in the morning.
Since getting regular good sleep is massively helpful for building new muscle. Here's what a good routine might look like. Working out 4 days a week on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at 6:15 p.m. as soon as you're finished work. Eating 3 pre-planned meals every day, each of those meals being supportive of muscle growth, eating them at around 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 7:30 p.m. And going to bed at 11 p.m. and waking up at around 7 a.m. every day. The more specific your routine is, the lower your margin of error will be. Plus, being specific with your routine really does help with adherence. If you were to decide to work out 4 times per week without deciding the exact days and times that you'll be doing each of those 4 training sessions, for example, then it can become very easy to put those workouts off from potentially procrastinating to the point where they end up not getting done at all, or at least not all of them. I found that for all of my most successful clients, they all have some kind of specific routine that they implement most of the time. The exact structure of each routine is different from person to person, with differing levels of flexibility or rigidity to suit each person's personality and lifestyle. But what they all have in common is they incorporate some kind of routine that includes regular strength training and appropriate healthy eating that they've committed themselves to. I've got a routine too. Here's what it looks like. I train 6 days a week at 11 a.m. each day right in the middle of my workday, with Thursday as my regular non-training rest day. I eat the same 3 pre-planned meals every day at around 9 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 7:30 p.m. in the evening. And I go to bed at around 10:30 p.m. each evening and wake up sometime between 6:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. each morning. That specific routine works great for me, my preferred lifestyle, and seems to be very supportive in my own muscle growth goals. In addition to having and practicing a good routine, when it comes to building tons of muscle naturally, having a good mindset is key. Natural muscle growth for most people takes following through with the routine that's conducive of muscle growth for more than just weeks or months, but rather for many years. Although this might seem obvious, I've found that adopting a mindset that welcomes that concept is best, in opposed to a more short-sighted, go hard in a short time frame kind of a mindset. Fixating on building pounds and pounds of muscle within a relatively short time frame, for example, say for only a few months, will almost always be met with disappointment. Natural muscle growth takes a long time. That's just the way it works. That being so, taking a step back and evaluating your progress, say over years instead of weeks or months, will likely leave you feeling a lot more satisfaction from the process, rather than the disappointment of failing to make tons of unrealistic progress in a relatively short time frame. Natural muscle growth is a game of delayed gratification. If you can embrace that, then not only can you make incredible progress, but you can find a lot of enjoyment and fulfillment from the process as well. As far as predicting just how much muscle you can build over a large time horizon goes, I'm not going to try to pretend I know the answer to that. The answer is going to be different for everyone. Genetics plays a gigantic role in just how much muscle a person can build. And since there's a lot of genetic variation between people, the amount of muscle each person can build will vary a lot too. The good news is this. From what I've seen, almost everyone can make gains that are notable and impressive for their frame, regardless of what their exact genetic potential is. That being so, instead of having a goal of building a specific amount of muscle by a specific time, it might be more helpful to do something like keep the goal relatively broad and just aim to build as much muscle as you possibly can.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was.
And set your focus on following through with your muscle growth conducive routine, like showing up for all of your workouts and aiming to progress within each of them. If you do that, then you will end up building as much muscle as possible regardless of what your genetic potential is. Honestly, that's what I've always done, and it's worked pretty well for me so far. Okay. Now we know that mechanical tension is the primary driver for muscle growth, and that including strength training as part of your routine is essential for building as much muscle as possible because it's probably the most effective activity that you can incorporate for generating mechanical tension. To make the most out of the time that you're doing your strength training sessions, you should probably be working through an effective training program. Great. So what exactly does an effective training program entail? 1, having a plan for each exercises that you'll be doing for each of your workouts. 2, knowing how heavy you'll be lifting and how many reps and sets that you'll be aiming to do for each of your exercises. And 3, having and implementing some method of progression from one session to the next, whether that be via lifting progressively heavier loads, doing more reps, or some other form of progression. From my experience, there's definitely some nuance that goes into creating a program that's optimal for a person. But as long as a program at the very least has some kind of structure and an organized progression system to follow, you'll be able to make way better use of your time working out than if you weren't following any kind of a program. I think of working out using a good training program as a means of ensuring that my muscles are being exposed to higher and higher amounts of mechanical tension over time. Going into your workouts without any kind of a program is kind of like aiming to shoot a target blind, like literally shooting with a blindfold. You might be able to hit the target, but probably not. Just like working through an effective training program is a means of ensuring that your muscles are being exposed to the necessary amounts of mechanical tension that's needed to build lots of muscle naturally. Having some kind of eating structure or meal plan along with some basic nutritional knowledge will, again, from my experience, ensure that you get an ample intake of energy and the building blocks that are needed for muscle growth. If you have just a basic understanding of how your caloric and macronutrient intake will affect muscle growth, then you can plan your meals ahead of time to be in alignment with your muscle growth goals. And with that same nutritional knowledge, you can do so whilst ensuring that the foods that you include taste good to you, leave you feeling satiated, and are convenient for you to put together and prep. Now, you might be wondering,
what about intuitive eating? Can I just do that? Do I have to plan my meals ahead of time?
if you don't know what it is, intuitive eating is essentially where you eat based on your body's hunger and satisfaction signaling. And it typically doesn't involve having a meal plan or calculating calories or macros. From my experience, intuitive eating can work for some people, but it's best used once you've already developed a decently strong understanding of nutrition and have a very firm grasp of your body's hunger signaling and awareness.
What's the best way to develop a strong grasp and understanding of nutrition?
You ask? Probably from creating and implementing some kind of eating structure or meal plan into your routine. Once you do that and you get good at it, then a more intuitive approach later on down the road could work great for you. But again, it's probably a good idea to get an understanding of the fundamentals before you start to step away from them.
Look, you must complete the training.
I have to go.
6.5 hours later.
It makes me think of that famous Pablo Picasso quote. It's something like,
"You need to learn the rules before you can break them."
and that's it. So to summarize, here are all of the things that you probably need to do to build tons of muscle naturally. 1. Have a routine that includes regular strength training and some kind of eating structure or meal plan that's conducive of muscle growth. 2. Have a mindset that embraces delayed gratification. 3. Consider goal setting in a way that leaves you aiming broadly to build as much muscle as possible, but sets your focus to following through the process or your routine. 4, have a well-structured, effective, progressive training program. And 5, acquire some basic nutritional knowledge and create and implement some kind of eating structure or a meal plan that's supportive of building muscle. And with those 5 must-haves, you'll be unstoppable in your quest to building tons of muscle naturally. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. And go ahead and follow me on my Instagram account too. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, lift hard, live smart, and I'll see you in the next video.